Well, the Warriors were very scrappy and played really good defense for most of the first half. But at the start of the second half, Donovan Mitchell just came out and took this game over, hit 3 threes right away to open the second half, and the Cavaliers were on a roll, and they will win 113-95. And the Warriors will fall to 16-16. They go back to 500 and will try to get back above when they host Philadelphia. The Cavaliers, an awesome 28-4 in their first 32 games, and they're 8-0 against the Western Conference. They are a title contender.
That they are. I mean, woof. The Cleveland Cavaliers just walked into Chase Center tonight, a place where myself, Evan Giddings, was planted in Media Road, just not even in awe, not necessarily in shock, but just with an understanding of, I think, what we all saw tonight, which was the Warriors just get pretty much manhandled, especially in the second half, by the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is now 28-4, by a team that has title aspirations, and a team that, quite frankly, looked like what the Golden State Warriors used to be. And I know that the Warriors and the Cavs rivalry started back in 2014-15 when the Warriors first beat them in the championship. But and there's different characters on both sides, Curry and Draymond and Steve Kerr, probably the oldest faces for the Warriors, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are totally different. But how the times have changed. The Cleveland Cavaliers look like a team that, I mean, they just played past the Warriors. They looked directly through them, and they obliterated them in the second half. Final score tonight was 113-95, and it completes a month from hell for the Warriors, the month of December. It sends Golden State back to 500, and it puts Cleveland at a 7-game win streak. I just feel like, first things first, 888-957-9570 is the number. Also for the Comcast Business Text line. Appreciate everybody filing in here to Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. I don't want to necessarily look at this game as sort of a doom and gloom, and I don't know. I don't necessarily know how people are feeling about it, but to me, it was a game that I think right from the jump, like the Warriors played hard in the first quarter. I thought defensively they were active. They obviously didn't hit a lot of shots tonight. They shot 33% from the floor as a team. That is the worst home shooting percentage by a Steve Kerr-led Warriors basketball team. Again, that goes back to the 2014-15 season. So for the first time in a decade, this is the lowest that they have ever shot at home, whether it's Oracle, whether it's now Chase Center. The Warriors have quite literally never shot that poorly at home. And you could completely understand why watching the game. I mean, yes, they missed some open shots and missed a few makeable ones, but they were just simply overwhelmed by a far superior basketball team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are longer, they're younger, they're more athletic, and they're a team that, this was kind of a barometer game and a litmus test, so to speak, for the Warriors. They are far away, and I think we might have been probably riding high off the weekend, off of Jonathan Kuminga's performances, particularly against the Suns. But the Warriors are still amidst a stretch of basketball that has not been very pretty to watch. And they finished the month of December 4-9 in 13 games. Prior to that, I believe they had 3 losses too. So, this is a Warriors team that is, again, back to 500. And unfortunately, that's kind of who they've been. And who we've discovered them, look, they're right in between. They're directly in the middle. And when they play a team like Cleveland, who's at full strength, now 2 times in a row, they have been exposed. And again, Cleveland's the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference. The last time the Warriors faced them was in Cleveland. This was the last time they'll play them this season, thank God, with the way the first 2 games have gone. But 136-117 was the first score. That was after the Warriors had started 7-1. And, we're looking like world beaters after they beat the Celtics in Boston. But Cleveland it's a combination of things for me. That is, it's a terrible matchup for the Warriors based on, again, the personnel, the style of play that Cleveland is able to, basically dish out on anybody, but especially the Warriors. It's a team that shoots the ball extremely well from 3. They're able to play fast. And even though they gave up a decent amount of points in the paint, they make you work for everything inside the three-point line, and they will run you off. And then they use the kind of twin bigs of Mobley and Allen to make every shot difficult, even if it goes in. I thought it was interesting that tonight the Golden State Warriors' top scorer, it was Kuminga and then Moody, who was really good off the bench, pretty much in garbage time because the game was relatively over in the third quarter after a 37-point outpour by the Cavaliers. But for most of that game, Trayce Jackson-Davis was their leading scorer, and he had 16 and 16 tonight. But it was because the Cavs were basically funneling everything into the paint. And you don't often see a center that doesn't take jump shots go 6 of 14, which is what Trayce Jackson-Davis was. So, defensively, the Cavs are a very good basketball team. Offensively, it felt like they were just dormant in the first half. And I texted a friend of mine this who was sitting a couple of sections behind me. It was like, I thought the Cavs missed a lot of open threes in the first half. I thought they left a lot of points on the board, and the Warriors weren't able to take advantage of that. So much to the point where, I mentioned the 33% shooting for the Warriors tonight, which was the worst of any Steve Kerr-led basketball team at home in his time in Golden State. But they scored 11 points in the second quarter. That's a season low. The second lowest was, I believe, in San Antonio when they had 13 fourth-quarter points and basically ran out of gas. They just got flummoxed in the second quarter. And it really didn't matter who the Warriors threw out there. Tonight, to me, is not about the blame game or, who was better or who was worse. We can go down the stats. Kuminga, sure, he had 18 and 10. He was a -5, which was not as bad as other players, but he was 4 of 15. I thought he struggled tonight, even though he got to the line. Thank God he got to the line 14 times. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have done much. Curry had a bad shooting night. 4 of 14, 3 of 11 from 3. He hit a couple of deep ones, but even all of his shots, the degree of difficulty was through the roof. I thought the best three-point look that Curry got tonight in his 29 minutes, and even though he's 4 of 14, he was a -2. The Warriors were at their best in the first quarter when he was on the floor. But I think it was his very first shot. The first three that Curry took was he pump-faked Allen and sidestepped for a top-of-the-key three, which was wide open, and he rimmed it out. And that was really the only open look he got all night. And he hit a couple of tough ones, but overall was not very good. Draymond Green, I know he had a couple blocks and a steal, and overall defensively did a pretty good job, but 1 of 10. Just could not buy a basket. Didn't make a free throw either. Just a brutal night offensively for him. Wiggins, was fine tonight efficiency-wise, but he was pretty tentative, honestly, on a night when they kind of needed him to go try and find his shot. I didn't think he was aggressive enough, if anything. And then the bench was just abysmal, shooting the basketball. Lenny Waters, 0 of 5. I know most of it was at the end, but Buddy Hield, a 1 of 8 night, 0 of 3. The Buddy Hield experience has officially hit a rock bottom for the Warriors. Really, the only bright spot off the bench was Moses Moody, and that includes Kuminga. Kuminga, I didn't think was awful tonight, but he certainly didn't do anything to dig the Warriors out of a hole the way he almost did on Friday against the Clippers, and then certainly the way he did on Saturday against the Suns, and hasn't put together 3 consecutive great games so far this year. But I didn't really think that there was much he could do. I didn't think there was much the Warriors could do. So again, I don't really want to play the blame game tonight because I think that they just got completely overwhelmed in a tidal wave type fashion by a Cavs team that is looking to compete for a championship. I think that has every reason to believe that they are good enough to win an NBA title and is the crown jewel of the Eastern Conference and is the best team in the league. Like, they're 28-4. If you don't bring your A game, you are going to get walloped. And for the 2 games that the Warriors will have seen Cleveland this year, they did not play their A game. And who knows if their A game would be good enough to beat Cleveland. You kind of have to catch them on an off night. I thought that Cleveland Cavaliers had an off half. They only scored 46 points in the first 2 quarters, and then regression to the mean. They went, 8 of 14 from 3 in the third quarter. They hit their first 6 threes. Donovan Mitchell just erupted for 15 third-quarter points. And again, like I mentioned, I felt like tonight the Cleveland Cavaliers did to the Golden State Warriors what the Warriors used to do to basketball teams, which is kind of sleepwalk their way in the first half, try and rely on hitting some open shots, taking a lot of decent ones, making some, not making most of them, and then they just woke up at halftime. That was the third quarter is what the Warriors used to be known for, and tonight they got a taste of their own medicine from a very, very good Cleveland Cavaliers team. So I want to hear from you at 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap Up after the Warriors get beat by the Cavaliers 113-95. Let's see, 415 in the Comcast Business text line. Back to Wiggins. He played okay. Buddy had a really bad game, stone cold shooting and multiple untimely turnovers. From the 408, Evan, do you think it's crazy to think the Dubs could be trading guys away come the deadline with the slide they continue on? Perhaps. I think that I guess I'd be curious, 408, to know which players you feel like the Warriors would be able to sell and which players other teams would want that the Warriors, to me, those would be guys that are on expirings. And one of the ways that the Warriors kind of configured their offseason was to get guys on some cheaper deals, but across a couple of seasons. Like Gary Payton II is a guy that comes off the books this year, but I'm not sure what he could fetch the Warriors necessarily. Right now it's going to be really hard to trade Buddy Hield, who was a trade target last season, and it's because he can't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, he hasn't been able to throw a stone into the ocean so far in the month of December. And I think, unfortunately, he's a guy that I think kind of stands out as we come to an end of 2024. And I hate to have, I don't know if it's pessimistic tone, but this wasn't a good game by the Warriors, and they got manhandled, they got overpowered. I thought they got overwhelmed, but it brings us to an end of the month of December, which is a 4-9 month. And, unfortunately, Buddy Hield is kind of the symbol for the Warriors offense right now, which is that they can't hit a jump shot. Like, the Warriors in the month of December played 13 games. They finished the month 30th in overall field goal percentage, 27th in overall three-point percentage, 27th in scoring, and they were dead last in effective field goal percentage. And Buddy Hield is a player that runs hot, runs cold, and right now the Warriors and their ability to shoot the basketball has been frozen over. I mean, Buddy's shooting 30.4% in 13 December games, and I think, unfortunately, he's kind of become a symbol for how the Warriors have not been able to make a shot. They shot, I think, 33.3% from three-point range the entire month. You're not going to win many games like that. Even if their defense, which hasn't been shabby by any means, this is a team that was built on hoisting a large volume of three-pointers. This offseason, Kerr made that an emphasis. And when you don't hit threes, you're going to lose games. And the Warriors have not hit threes. They have not hit jump shots at a clip well enough to not lose more than they've won over now a month and in a couple of weeks. So it sucks that Hield has kind of been the poster child for that, because there's been other players that haven't shot particularly well. But he was the hot and cold guy. And when he was hot, the Warriors were hot. And when he's been cold, the Warriors have been dead cold. And there's been other players that haven't shot it particularly well. Steph has had a poor month of December. Draymond Green has come back down to earth shooting-wise. Dennis Schroeder has not shot it very well since he's been acquired in a trade. But overall, the Warriors have not had enough players that can hit threes, and they have lived and now died, in my opinion, by the three-point shot, because that's what their offense has been based on. You're not gonna win if you're dead last shooting the basketball. So the month from hell essentially comes to an end, and hopefully the Warriors can begin anew as they kind of turn the page toward 2025. 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's go out to the coach, who's actually here at the game tonight. The coach from Los Altos. What's going on? Welcome to Warriors Wrap Up. How are you?
Hey, Evan. Great. Thanks for taking my call. And, it was a tough night. Really, really tough night. Couple of comments, and then I want to throw a controversial take out there.
Okay.
First comment is their poor shooting was not only 3 points. I counted at least 15, maybe closer to 20 missed layups and putbacks. And it wasn't just TJD. It was Buddy Hield streaking down the court. It was Draymond. It was Schroeder. That we missed layups. And, yeah, you could say Mobley and Allen potentially impacted, but there were many times when they weren't even in the game or in the paint, and we still just missed. So there's something going on that we can't hit layups. So that's sort of the first take. The second take is the defense is pretty darn good. Like you said, pretty not too shabby. But they got to put the ball in the hole. And until that happens, they're just, like you said, they're just not going to win. So here's the controversial take. I was really watching Curry tonight. And, and they announced, when they announce the starting lineup, they say in his 16th season. And when you think about the wear and tear on that guy's body, all the championships, the playoff runs, everything, he's just not able to get open like he used to. Even guys like Niang were kind of staying with him. So here's my take. If the Warriors want to win, they got to get out of limbo land. They got to get out of, we can ride this fence. They can't. So either get them some darn help and trade away some of these young guys to get some veteran shooting offensive presence, or trade Curry to a contender, get 6 first-round picks, and start your rebuild process like OKC did. But don't play this middle of the road, because this middle of the road is going to get you 16 and 16, or at the end, 41 and 41. It just isn't going to cut it. That's my take.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the call. Sorry you had to go to a game that was a little bit disappointing, but I think some fine points. I'll get to your hot take in a minute, but you're right. I mean, they missed a lot of shots in the paint. I mean, I think they shot 45% in the paint tonight. As a whole, they were 33 of 99. They were 33%. They were 23.7% from three, but there's a couple of examples in that third quarter. And again, that's where everything went wrong for the Warriors. Like, Donovan Mitchell comes out, hits 3 straight threes to start. The lead goes from 8 at the half, which honestly the Warriors were probably lucky that they were not down, I think, watching that first half, by at least 15 points. You score 38 points against a Cleveland team that averages 122, most in the league. You should be down by 15. So the fact that they were only down 8 was a miracle in my mind. Donovan Mitchell comes out, hits 3 straight threes. Mobley hits the 4th. I mean, they hit 6 straight threes to start. I think Dean Wade caught one. Darius Garland, who was the only real offensive threat for the Cavs in the first half, might have hit one as well. But anyways, they start 6 to start the quarter. And during the middle of that, there's a play with 8 minutes left in the third quarter where Draymond Green basically cherry picks. And I can't exactly remember why he was so far deep on the Cavs end of the court. I think he might have got tangled up with a player, and the Cavs like to play fast. Regardless, Draymond's cherry-picking underneath the Cavs basket, and he gets a pass out front, and he kind of tries to use his body to stop it. I'm not sure if it was Mobley, but it was a Cavs big. He misses the first one. He missed like 3 follow-up tip attempts underneath the basket, and it was just like, I just felt bad for the guy. I know he ended up 1 of 10. He obviously didn't shoot it very well tonight, but that was an instance where it's like, dude, the Warriors just cannot buy a bucket tonight. It doesn't matter how close or far they are. Then later on in that quarter, even a player like Kuminga, who is probably the Warriors' best downhill threat, and I think is probably their most effective player outside of Trace Jackson Davis in terms of paint percentage, Evan Mobley just sunned him. I mean, Kuminga got caught under the basket, tried to kind of pump fake. You're always in trouble when you're pump faking multiple times because it means that you can't go up or go through a guy. Like, I remember Chris Webber talking about that. There was this player named George Murstein back in the day, used to play for Washington, might have been the Bullets at the time. But anyways, he would just pump fake Webber to death because he knew he was not athletic enough to go up around him. And that's what I saw Jonathan Kuminga try to do to Evan Mobley. He got blocked 2 times in a row. caught it the first time, went back underneath, pump fake, up once, up twice, goes and gets deflected again. And I appreciated Kuminga, Moody, Trace Jackson Davis's energy. Like that they felt like they didn't give up in that game. In fact, maybe they were playing harder. Like there was one time where Kuminga rose up and tried to dunk it, hit the ground hard. Trace Jackson Davis had a crazy fling where he was trying to dunk it over somebody. Like the young guys gave energy tonight. I think the older players, just because they didn't have it, like, you know, they're not going to try and dunk on people anymore. But you're right, Coach. It was really difficult to watch that third quarter when the Cavs explode for 37 and the Warriors are having trouble making layups. You know, and even Curry, like, this is where I do think that, to get to your second point about the hot take, it's like, you know, the idea of trading him is something that I think we'll continue to talk about as the Warriors move along towards the deadline. I personally don't think it'll happen. But what I'll say is this: he still has a ton of respect from opposition. It doesn't matter if he's shooting the ball well, and I'll tell you why. Because in that third quarter, when the Warriors, they went down 17, it was 58-41, and Curry, he hits a three-pointer to cut it to 18 with 5:46 left. I wrote this down specifically because it was his first three of the game. I think he was like 1 of 5 and 0 of 4 from distance. He hits his first three. It was like a 28-footer. And Kenny Atkinson immediately calls timeout. That's respect, because Curry had an awful shooting game tonight, was not good up until that point. He hits his first three, and the only thing that the Cavs are thinking is, can't let him get going. Can't do it. Like, so many coaches would try to stop Curry by using timeouts during the peak of his powers. Like, if I remember listening to one coach who basically just had a rule, like, if Curry makes back-to-back threes, I don't care, I'm calling a timeout because I need to make sure that this guy does not get it going. The only thing I think that the Cavs recognized was going to lose them that game is if Curry began to get hot. And so that's where it's you know, he struggled tonight, he wasn't good, but you can still tell the kind of respect that opposing teams have for him, and especially one that knows him as well as he does in Kenny Atkinson. So I thought that was particularly interesting. But overall, I think some good points, Coach, and appreciate you joining us tonight. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Gang is with you on Warriors Wrap-Up here at Chase Center. 408, you're right. Cavs have stomped out Warriors in both head-to-head games. I don't know about absolute outrage, but they've been beaten now by, I think the first game was 19, tonight was 18, so 37 points through 2 games. And quite frankly, the first game wasn't that close. I want to say the Warriors were down by more than 30 in the first half of that game. This game was closer, but I think it was more of a close contest because the Cavs didn't make shots in the first half. Once they got it going in the second half, it was just over. And they looked like a 28-4 team. Like, that Cavaliers team, when they beat the Warriors the 8th game of the season, that was in the middle of their 15-game win streak. The last team to win 15 to begin a season was the 2015-16 73-win Warriors. Like, that is a juggernaut that the Warriors ran into tonight. And they didn't play very well, but if you don't play well against a team that is basically just running rampant on the league, like, that's going to happen. You're going to get embarrassed. You're going to have your worst shooting performance in the history of your head coach's tenure at home. You're going to basically cap a month that's been absolutely, piss poor, and you're not going to win the game. All right, from the 415, from No. What's up? Appreciate you tuning in. Did you see Trace Jackson Davis and Green standing next to Mobley and Allen on the free throw box? The Warriors need interior size badly. They do. They look. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, is a really good center, but I think you're right from the 4-on-5. He's smaller. Draymond Green is obviously a very good defender when he's healthy. Draymond's older, and Draymond's not as athletic as he used to be. So I think you're right. What stood out to me, not just looking at them, but also comparing the two bigs, it's like even the Warriors' athletic guy is giving up something because he's not a true 7-footer. And the Warriors' best defensive player on a night like tonight looked like he was too old to guard for 48 minutes or 30, however much he was in. But for a full 48, was able to help the Warriors defensively stop a Cavs team that didn't even need to really get much at the rim. I think the Warriors actually had more points in the paint. If I can double check that real fast. I was looking up at the scoreboard tonight, and it was a little bit concerning, the fact that the Warriors couldn't make a jump shot. Yeah, the Warriors outscored the Cavs in the paint tonight, 48-42. So, they got enough. And look, I think the Warriors got more in the paint because they had to. They recognized that nothing was falling. The only guy I think that was around a respectable percentage from distance tonight was Moses Moody, and I think Moses certainly has a case to get some more tick, but this also, he played a lot of minutes in a game that was pretty much over. So I like Moody's effort tonight, and I think that Steve Kerr is probably going to look hard and long at that backup guard position, which Hield is occupying, because I gave out the numbers earlier, but he's shooting 30% through 13 games in December, is now officially under 40% on the season, and I think he's unfortunately right now the symbol for the roller coaster ride that the Warriors have had shooting the basketball. And the Warriors are literally the definition now of 500 team, which is 16-16. They're now 8-8 at home, and do the math, they're 8-8 on the road. They haven't been able to distinguish themselves since the beginning of the season. And it feels, unfortunately, a lot like it's happening maybe a little bit later, but it does feel a lot like last season when they got out to that 6-2 start and then just got hammered on that first road trip, which also, by the way, included the Cavaliers. They got humbled. The Warriors did, I think, earlier last season. And look, they're still 500. This season is far from over. But the question that we're going to ask all day tomorrow on 95.7 The Game is where do you go from here? The Warriors fall to 10th place. They are tied officially with the Spurs, who have the head-to-head because of the lone win. But they're tied for the 9th spot. They're a half game up on Phoenix. And the only teams behind them are the Suns, the Kings, the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. And that's kind of the Warriors' reality at this point. And it's like, what do they do? To the coach's point, getting Curry help is something that I think is in a vacuum a great option, a great choice. Yeah, let's get this guy some help. I'm just not really sure how they do it. We talked today about how Kuminga could be that help, but tonight he also looked overwhelmed. Right, the game tonight against the Cavaliers, the Warriors' eldest players and their aging superstars look too old, and their younger, up-and-coming, getting better, developmental players looked too young. And they don't have enough guys that can match up with a supremely talented, obviously in rhythm, and I think a pretty well-coached Cavaliers team. This was a mismatch on paper to start, and the Warriors, I think, maybe gave you a little hope in the first half. But again, to me, that was more so because the Cavaliers missed a lot of shots that they shouldn't. This is from the 925 of the Comcast Business Text line. The problem with this team is Curry is done. I would push back against that. Too old. Draymond too old. Wiggins inconsistent. Yeah, I think Wiggins has definitely taken a backseat since Kuminga has begun to emerge, and to me, that's what I like about Wiggins, is that he can still help you defensively on most nights. Again, this is a game that it might sound crazy, but it's a game you got to flush. Like you have to put this behind you. This is a team in the Cavaliers that have sunned you in now 2 games. They're a team that has their eyes and sights far beyond the Warriors. Like the Warriors are just right now, they look like this game and the first 2 games that they've played, just another team to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like the Warriors were food tonight. They were food. They were chum. And the Cleveland Cavaliers ate them up and spit them out in that third quarter and basically just rode that wave of momentum to a near 20-point victory. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, I do want to listen to Steve Kerr, who talked after this game. I have seen a couple of things trickle out that I've found interesting. I also, again, want to kind of get into, I think, setting the tone for what we're going to talk about tomorrow, which is, just a month from hell, and really where the Warriors try and go from here. So if you want to get in on the conversation, please do. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you live from Chase Center after the Warriors fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 113-95. We'll be back after this on Warriors Wrap Up 95.7 The Game.
game.
Tim Roy, Tom Tolbert on the call after the Warriors are dragged, quite honestly, by the Cleveland Cavaliers, 113-95 at Chase Center. The lowest shooting percentage by a Steve Kerr-led Warriors team at home. And just an ugly night offensively. And Cleveland's length was bothersome. Their athleticism showed. And their ability to just kind of turn it on was, I thought, pretty evident in that third quarter, after they only scored 46 points in the first half. They scored 37 in the third quarter, hit their first 6 from 3, 8 of 14, and the Warriors just basically can't keep pace. This was a game that I thought was over midway through the third and kind of put the Warriors in their place a little bit. And the Warriors are what their record says they are, 16-16. They have lost 7 of 10. They have lost 12 of their last 16, and in the month of December, I believe they go 4-9 over 13 games. So, I mean, they're playing worse than average basketball right now, but overall, as a whole, they're 16-16. They're 8-8 on the road and here at home, and they are almost 500 against their own conference. So, unfortunately, they lose both the games in the season series to the Cavaliers that get outscored 37 between the two games. But Cavs are 28-4. That's a damn good club. That's a team that looks like they are going to make some noise in the playoffs and expect to contend for a championship. And the Warriors right now do not look like a team that is, number one, competing for a title, but they don't look necessarily close, and that's kind of the most discouraging part about it. So, fortunately for them, look, they still got plenty of time left. You know, there's now officially 50 games left in the NBA season. Sounds kind of crazy, but we're not even at the midway point. We're only rolling into 2025, and a lot of people believe the NBA season starts on Christmas. I guess maybe for some football fans here in the Bay Area, it started a little bit earlier. Overall, not a great night in Bay Area sports, by the way. The Niners, trouble brewing, 6-10. Warriors not much better, so a tough night of sports. I know we're going to talk about it a lot tomorrow on 95.7 The Game. Before we get to Steve Kerr, I do want to get our Crashing the Board segment out of the way real fast. Brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. The leader in rebounds tonight for the Golden State Warriors, Trace Jackson Davis, had 16 and 16 tonight. 6 offensive rebounds, a few of them also some kind of close misses at the rim. 29 minutes on the game for TJD. Also, Kuminga had a double-double tonight, 18 and 10, a couple of offensive rebounds, but as a whole, very difficult shooting night for the Warriors, and I think only 2 players actually shot above 50% from the field in this game. That was Wiggins, who was 5 of 9, though he was 4 of 4 on twos, was 1 of 5 from downtown. And there's Moses Moody, who went 7 of 8 from the floor and went 3 of 3 from distance. So, struggling night from pretty much everywhere on the floor, shooting-wise, for the Golden State Warriors. And right now, let's hear from the head coach of the Warriors. Steve Kerr was asked about a couple of things after the game. Let's check in and see what he's got to say.
Well, the ball wasn't going in the hoop. That's for sure. But we have to find a way to develop better rhythm to create better shots, for sure. I thought we got off to a great start, really good pace, good flow. And then that second quarter, we kind of lost our momentum, and I thought it got down a little bit. And the key stretch of the game was, Mitchell's 3 threes to start the third. We just, I think we scored first, and then I think they scored 12 in a row and broke it open.
How frustrating mentally can it be when you're just missing layup after layup?
Yeah, that was part of it. I thought our guys continued to play hard the rest of the night, but there were just a lot of shots that didn't go that were kind of demoralizing, for sure. And it happens, and we're kind of in a rut right now. We haven't made shots now for a while, so it feels like it should turn, but we have to try to find a way to help develop the rhythm with passing, with movement, with spacing to generate better shots.
And how difficult just was Cleveland's size and length on the perimeter? Yeah,
they've been a tough matchup for us for the last few years with Mobley and Allen patrolling the paint, and then they've got excellent role players. Obviously 2 stars in the backcourt with Mitchell and Garland, but a whole group of role players who can all dribble and pass and shoot and know how to play. And they've been together now for some years. They kind of remind me of our team. When I first got here, that they've been together now for a while, and the continuity is obvious, and it feels like a team that's really well connected, and there's a reason they're 28-4. They're really good.
Steve, going back to the beginning of the game, what was it that worked so well for you guys? Because the first, half of the first quarter at least, you guys were kind of off and running.
Yeah, it was. We were getting stops. Our defense was great, and we were running. We were throwing the ball ahead. I think we had 8 throwheads in transition in the first quarter, and then that dropped to 3 in the second. And it was kind of a choppy second quarter. I mean, it's not like our defense was bad. We only gave up 20 points. So it just felt like we were missing, little putbacks, layups, and we just couldn't get out of that rut in the second quarter and lost our mojo.
The Cavs don't block a lot of shots. I think they're bottom 10 for blocks. But what does it say about their ability to, I guess, discourage people from coming into the paint and what it can do to a team mentally? Yeah,
they have a good defense. And like I said, they're well connected. I think Dean Wade is really underrated. He was really mucking things up in the paint for us, always in the right spot, coming over and making plays, a couple block shots and rebounding. And, that guy's a really, really good role player for them and complements the rest of their guys well.
Steve, you've talked about how much you really believe in this group. You guys have had some really high highs and some tough lows. At 16-16, how do you think that reflects on the team overall? I mean, are you guys a 16-16 team, or do you think highly of that team? You are what your record says you are. I think Bill Parcells. I think there's a lot of truth to that, we've obviously fallen, from that early start where we had a lot of momentum and a lot of good flow to our game. And so I know, because I've seen it, the way we started, I know it's in us and I know we can get there. But right now it's a struggle for sure.
Kerr, after the Warriors again lose 113-95 tonight to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and a lot of stuff that kind of leads me to the conclusion. It's like that this isn't a game where one person played poorly and one person cost them the game, or the coaching staff didn't prepare them correctly, or quite frankly the Warriors could do much of anything. And that's the sense that I get left feeling that game, and really started to feel midway through the third quarter. And I thought Kerr hit the nail on the head when he said that they look a lot like the 2014-15 Warriors team. That's the team that he was referencing. And I said it right off the top. It felt like a Warriors third quarter from old. I mean, and the sense that I'm left with is watching a Warriors team that is kind of helpless. The Cavaliers are just, when they're on, you're going to get beat. And it's a strange feeling watching a team with Kerr, Curry, and Draymond, who used to do that to everybody. I mean, it was never a matter of if, it just felt like a matter of when, especially those first 2 years, and even sometimes during the Kevin Durant years. I think there was a little more sleepwalking through quarters or halves when KD was there, because they knew that they were so talented. But sometimes the first couple of Warriors teams, they would have poor shooting stretches. They played with energy, they played with pace, but just weren't getting the ball to fall. And then all of a sudden it was like a freaking barrage. And you look up and the game's up to 20, and you don't know what hits you. And that's what the Cavs have now done to the Warriors in 2 games this season. And, we could talk about the mismatches and how long they are and how disruptive they are and how athletic they are. And I'm not saying the Cavs are going to go on to win a title. I'm not sure. Though I think they probably have the best chance of anybody to knock off the Celtics. But to me, comparing the Warriors to the best team in the NBA is, especially when they're not playing well, it's just like it's a futile discussion. And I know we're going to talk about it tomorrow, and I'll be on with Steiny from 10 to 2. And so, we're going to have a conversation about that. We obviously got to get into the 49ers, who also played tonight and left a lot of Bay Area sports fans with a sour taste in their mouth. But the Warriors were just overwhelmed tonight, and it's difficult for me to really judge anybody on this game. Like, again, the best player for the Warriors tonight was Moses Moody. But what does that really do? He shot the ball well. I thought he was active. We could just go down the list, and we can do that if you'd like. Curry did not shoot it well tonight. He made his first three-pointer in the third quarter. Like, I thought Curry's best look came in the first quarter, his very first shot, and he missed it. He could not get going tonight, and I don't necessarily think it was because he just had an off shooting night. I think the Cavs had a big reason to do with that. They made things hard on him, and his gravity was still valuable. I think he was a +6 in the first quarter. He was the reason why the Warriors actually had the lead by a point at the end of the first quarter, and but at the end of the day, he could not do enough offensively. Draymond Green was abysmal, missed like 3 different layups on a cherry pick attempt in the third quarter that I thought kind of summed up his night. Trace Jackson-Davis, their starting center, I thought got kind of manhandled at times, and the reason why he ended up with 16 and 16 is because Cleveland was happy to let TJD try and do it offensively, and they needed him to rebound the ball because there was a lot of misses by Cleveland in the first half. I think Trace Jackson-Davis had half of his rebounds in the first quarter, which kind of goes to show you how much the Cavs were missing. Wiggins, speaking of missing, I thought was kind of absent. Was decent defensively on Mitchell. I think that was probably the reason why Donovan didn't get going in the first half, is because Wiggins did a good job on him. And Mitchell, I believe, had, I think it was 6 points in the first half before, of course, he exploded for 15 in the third quarter. He ended up with 23 on 19 shots. But, Wiggins did all he could in the first half and then basically was helpless like the Warriors were in the third quarter. Schroeder hit his first 3 of the game, and I know he went 2 of 4 from 3, but he was not very good again. He turned the ball over 4 times, only had 3 assists, was a -24, which was the worst on the floor in this game for the Warriors. He has not shot it very well since he's come to Golden State. The 2 of 4 from 3 might have his three-point percentage above 20% now, but that's kind of, again, where he's been. Kuminga, after 2, I think, damn good games over the weekend, came back down to earth. He was energetic. I thought he gave good energy and tried real hard, but just got overwhelmed by a Cavaliers team that had length and different guys to throw at him and kind of keep him in check. 4-15 again, evidence of that. Though he did have 10 rebounds, that to me at least showed he was active enough. Kuminga didn't hang his head and didn't mope in this game. He just wasn't good enough to impact it against the best team in basketball. Buddy Hield couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And his shooting stretch has now been pretty damn long, about 13, 14 games. And it's, again, where the Warriors are at. Kerr talked about it postgame. They can't buy a bucket right now. And it's been going on for about a month. For those that weren't tuned in earlier, I gave these stats pretty close to the top of the show. The Warriors are the worst team in the NBA over the month of December in shooting percentage, in effective field goal percentage. They're 27th in three-point percentage, and they're 27th in scoring. And especially those last 2 figures, to me, they're tied together. Like, the Warriors are a live by a jump shot, die by a jump shot team right now. And if they're not making shots, they're going to die. And that's why they're 4-9 in 13 games as the month of December mercifully comes to a close. But 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up here live from Chase Center after the Warriors fall to the Cavaliers, the 28-4 Cavaliers, by the way. Let's go out to the city of Fremont and talk to Shardal if we can, Cam. Shardal, what's going on? Welcome to the program.
It's great calling in the show. This was a tough loss for the Warriors. They go down. They lose against the Cleveland Cavaliers 113-95. It was a good game. But I'm 100% optimistic that this team is going to bounce back. Because this is a very resilient basketball team, and I know they have a lot of future ahead of them. I'm a big Steph Curry fan. It looks like Steph Curry didn't have the best shooting performance that he should have. I mean, I thought he would have probably gone for like 30 or 40, but he only went for 11 tonight. I believe in this team a lot, man. I ride with this team. I die with this team. I'm going to support this team as much as I can, and I'm looking forward to us to bounce back against the Sixers, man. I'm hoping they're going to bring their A game against Philadelphia, and it's going to be a great game. I mean, this team has a lot of stars. You know, they got Moses Moody, they got Pajemski, they got Green, they got Trace Jackson Davis. So, you know, I have a lot of loyalty in this team, and I'm not gonna give up on this team at this point because there's a lot of games left in the season, and it's kind of too late to give up right at this point. You know, it's too late to throw the towel.
Gotcha, Chardall. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's given up. You know, this was a humbling loss. There's no doubt about it. But you know, the season is not over. They're 500, and that's again the difference between the start last season and the start this season. You know, they were fighting from the 12 seed and back last year, and this year they're at 10 right now. They're tied for 9, but they're still in the thick of the play-in, which is probably where we should have expected them to be to begin the season. I think they just, you know, kind of hoodwinked us, quite frankly. But the thing about the start is, like, when you bank those early wins, you can sustain what right now has been a month of mediocrity, and a month plus, actually, going back to late November. So they've earned the ability to have that kind of long, extended stretch where they've been poor and still be a 500 basketball team. And fortunately, you know, and this is where, you know, to look at it from a glass half full, Chardall, they are going to play some softer scheduling. The month of January is not the month of December. You know, Cleveland tonight, I think if we go back, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they played, of their last 13 games that were in the month of December, they only played one team that was below 500. And I believe that was the Indiana Pacers, who had won 4 games coming into that game. And then the 5th win in a row against the Warriors got them to 500. So, like, they played a schedule from hell in the month of December. And yes, it's eye-opening because they got beat more often by some really good teams, which gives you an idea, you know, how good they are. But at the same time, it's like, okay, so you're 500 now. You're going into 2025, and you get Philadelphia on Thursday, who, granted, is playing better basketball. They just went up in Portland tonight, but they'll be on the tail end of a back-to-back, and they're a team that is relatively old. They might rest some of their guys. And then after Memphis, you play Sacramento, who is reeling. Miami is a good team, but not a great team. Detroit, Indiana, Toronto, Minnesota, who you've been able to beat, Washington. Like, there's some winnable games coming up on their schedule for the Warriors. And that's where, for example, the losses to Indiana, and I would even say the Lakers, but more so Indiana. Like, when you're really struggling, those losses hurt. And kind of the way that this all started was them blowing a couple games to some beatable opponents. That's how they got themselves into the thick of this. If you think about the losses and the blown leads to San Antonio and Brooklyn, along with the late game loss to, like, Indiana, for example, even maybe the loss, you know, in Houston, which would have got them an extra couple games in the play in the NBA Cup, not playing tournament, NBA Cup. You know, those are going to loom large because you were not supposed to have a great month of December. It was not set up that way for you to be successful. But the games that you had a chance to get, you didn't. And this is where it comes back to bite you, and that's why you end up being 500. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up live from Chase Center after the 18-point loss to the Cavaliers. Let's talk to Bill, who's leaving the game. Bill, what's going on? You're up. How we doing?
Hey, big guy, you know, it was a tough game, and, you know, Steph Curry in the press conference after, as you could see, you know, he looked a little down, and I saw him pre-game shooting as well, and just seemed a little off tonight. And I think this offensive team, you know, they didn't have that many turnovers, which was a promising stat, but that was one of the only good things. And I think the Warriors are going to lead on Steph and Draymond, going forward, obviously. So it starts with them, right?
Yeah, Bill. Appreciate the call. I think, well, first of all, Curry was absolutely frustrated in this game, and I tweeted it out, but I saw after the end of the third quarter. So again, the Cavaliers go on a 37-point surge. They take control of the game. They go up by as many as, I think, 22 or 23, and Curry has a chance to end the fourth quarter with a three. And they bring him back in with like 12 seconds left after they get a stop. And Kuminga draws a double team as Curry kind of sets a little rub screen, flares off to the wing. Kuminga hits him wide open, and he's got 2 seconds to shoot the ball, tees it up, and he misses. And you have not seen Curry miss many threes like that across his career. But again, it was just one of those nights. Warriors couldn't buy a basket. He goes to the bench, and I hope it didn't make it sound like on Twitter like he hit it with all of his might, but he punched the chair. Like, Curry was frustrated so much so in the game that he punched the chair. And I was looking at him afterwards. He puts his hands in a towel, and then he looks up and kind of smiles, just like, how did you miss that shot? And at the podium tonight, at least from the clips that I was seeing, it's like we're mid. He's trying to figure it out. Curry he's struggling to find answers. And I don't know if they lie on this roster, but he's also a reason why. Like, Curry has not played very well in the month of December, and I don't think it's just because this team isn't great around him. Like, he himself has not played very well. I think he's dealing with knee tendonitis. I don't think he's 100% right now, and he needs someone to help kind of carry him through right now a middling stretch, both in his season and I don't think, coincidentally, the Warriors season. And over the weekend, it was Kuminga. Over this stretch, it's been different players. Kuminga has probably been the most prominent figure that has helped the Warriors win some of these games amidst a really difficult stretch. But Curry doesn't have it right now, and he didn't have it tonight against the Cavs. He had it against the Lakers. Didn't play against the Clippers. Didn't have it against Phoenix. Didn't have it against Indiana going back before the Lakers. He had it against Minnesota. Didn't have it against Memphis. It's been one-on, one-off game, and they haven't been able to win enough of those games which he's actually been on. And so I think that's why he's also trying to figure out like where he's at in addition to where the team is at. All right, let's go to Carl in San Francisco, also leaving the game. Carl, my man, what's up? Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Hey there. I saw a live stream today by some of the reporters, and they were talking. It was kind of like that Peyton Manning, Eli Manning thing where they analyze the game as it's going live. I don't know if you've seen that.
I actually haven't. I was in media row, Carl, so I didn't get a chance to kind of tap in.
Yeah, a lot of them were commenting as the game was going at it. Some of them were saying how I guess Kuminga just has had a kind of an off attitude, kind of like Wiggins, and they're worried that Wiggins has taken Kuminga under his wing and has really messed with the psyche and kind of passed on that laissez-faire, coup d'etat, kind of thing. So I'm kind of worried about that, and I think that could be the reason why the Warriors are just catapulting out of the sky. They're a fireball that's going to crash, and we need to get Curry back. I think Curry's locked the locker room, and that's pretty apparent. And Ray Rano was talking today, too. He did a live stream and said how I think Draymond Green had a big side bet on a horse race, and more guys were watching the horse race clips than they were the game. So they're not ready for basketball.
Thanks, Carl. Well, they definitely weren't ready for the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers came in and just mollywopped them in that second half. The thing about Wiggins and Kuminga, I don't really buy that. The reason would be, for example, Kuminga talked about after the Suns game how Wiggins actually helped him on his free throw shot. And I think he went 10 of 14 tonight. But I don't think Wiggins has been a negative influence on Kuminga. I actually like the veteran that Wiggins appears to be kind of transforming into, which he realizes that he's a guy that's not going to carry a team, may not even be the second best player on a team anymore, but he still has ways to help. Like, I've seen him on the floor getting dirty, trying to dive for loose balls more than it feels like ever before. He doesn't complain about picking up the number one option like you saw him tonight on Mitchell. Again, I thought he was good on Mitchell in the first half, and then Mitchell just does what Mitchell does to begin the third quarter. I don't think Andrew Wiggins is a negative influence on Kuminga. And with everything that Wiggins has been through the last couple of years with his father, I also think that Wiggins probably has a lot of valuable life perspective that Kuminga could benefit from, and might even be able to identify with. Not the passing of a family member, but the fact that, Kuminga has had a less than ordinary upbringing, and someone like Wiggins who, has had to kind of figure things out for himself in a lot of different locations might be able to help him with that. So I don't buy the negative influence on Wiggins. Let's go to Berkeley and bring on Jonathan here on Warriors Wrap Up. Jonathan, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, how are you? Big fan of the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really concerned with the Warriors as well. I think they're going to turn around, but I mean, honestly, when is the All-Star game again? Is it second week of February or something?
It is, I think late February. The deadline is February 6th. The trade deadline is February 6th.
Okay. Yeah, because I think something's going to happen with that, obviously, and get that in the mix. But, I mean, I don't know how old you are. You sound like a younger guy in that demographic. But,
I'd like to think so. February 16th, so mid-February.
Okay. That's your birthday, or?
No, that's when the All-Star game is. Although my half-birthday is on the 18th of February.
Oh, the 18th. Okay, so you're going to be celebrating with the Futures game. But
I wish.
Hope you have a good future as well, But what I was going to say is, speaking of all that, being young and these guys, I think the thing is with the NBA, they got to create a big league-wide, restriction or whatever on dating apps. I think these guys are just swiping. They got their head in their ass, on their phone screen. And it's Hinge and Christian Mingles, screwing everything up. I mean, it's bullshit.
Thanks, Jonathan. I honestly, that's one of the more interesting theories that I've heard. I hope you're right, because then we can just get these guys off of Hinge and Bumble and whatever other apps they're using nowadays and get them focused back on basketball. Yeah, I don't even want to know if I want to go down this road. But you're right. I'm a little younger. I guess I do understand the temptations of the dating app world. I myself have dived in a little bit, probably not to the success of some of these guys, but I would like to believe that dating apps are not the reason why the Warriors are the worst shooting team in the month of December in the NBA. If that's the case, then I don't know. Maybe someone can go sign up on Donovan Mitchell's phone, Darius Garland's phone, and shoot Tyrese Maxey's phone, because he's going to be the next guy coming in on Thursday. But look, the Warriors are not doing well right now. They're spiraling. But unfortunately, the only thing they can do is to try and forge on and try and figure this thing out. And it's going to include a lot more tinkering. After tonight, I feel like with the roster that they have, I don't know if a trade is imminent necessarily, but it feels like someone like Buddy Hield, they might need to kind of cool their jets on him. I think we've hit the bottom of the barrel as far as the experience there. And if he's not shooting well, he's not helping you. Moses Moody looks like a player that can help you. At the very least, doesn't hurt you when he doesn't shoot the ball badly. Or maybe it's Lindy Waters. But again, the Warriors' top five tonight was not particularly good. Their best couple of players were not very good. Even though Kuminga had 18 and 10, I didn't think he played a great game tonight. Steph obviously didn't shoot the ball well, and even with his gravity, it didn't matter because no one else was making a shot. Draymond, I thought, was a rough watch tonight, to say the least. And Andrew Wiggins, even though he was relatively efficient from inside the three-point line, he was tentative and didn't really take a hold of the game when he probably needed to, because he was the only guy that could score the ball with any efficiency. So the Warriors didn't have any answers tonight for a team that is far superior to them. And as we kind of wind down here on Warriors Wrap Up, I do want to remind people that we'll be talking about this tomorrow from 6 to 6. Again, the morning roast from 6 to 10. Sonny and Guru, I'll be in for Guru tomorrow from 10 to 2, and then Willard and Dibbs from 2 to 6. All right. Oh, actually, I apologize. Let's get out to Marin City, talk to Eric. Let's wrap this up. Eric, you're our final call of the night. Appreciate you tuning in. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. Big fan of the show, and just a tough game to watch. But I had one quick question on the younger Warriors before I get into the main call. Do you know, is there some kind of clause or whatnot with younger guys? Like, when they're past the first year in the league, can they not be sent down to the G League or anything?
No, I mean, no. You can send players down to the G League. Typically they don't do it. But did you have a suggestion for one?
Well, you see guys like Guy Santos, and I know Quentin Post is new this year, but Guy Santos, a guy that I think he's got a lot of potential, very athletic. I don't know why they don't get him some more reps down there just to keep him active. It's kind of a shame, They're kind of using him like they did last year, which is not at all. It's like my wife and I's sex life. It's just, is it even there? I have to look down the bench sometimes.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, Eric. Gosh, we've got a bunch of interesting calls tonight, and I think it's kind of an indication of where we're at with the Warriors, which is kind of like them. It's like we're out of answers. So we're thinking about dating apps. We're thinking about when the All-Star break's coming. We're thinking about Eric in Marin City and his marital affairs. Look, well, first of all, actually, he did mention something that I forgot to touch on, which was congratulations to Quentin Post. He scored his first 2 points in the NBA tonight. So it's a forgetful game for the Warriors, but look, you score your first basket in the league, you score your first basket in the league. So tip of the cap to the Warriors' most recent draft selection in Quentin Post. Guy Santos, he isn't a guy that I necessarily am worried about playing or not playing, but I do think that it's telling that the Warriors did give, or Kerr did give DMP coaches decisions to both Kyle Anderson and Kevon Looney. Both those guys did not play tonight in a game where they didn't have a ton of answers. And could either of them have helped? I don't know. But my point is, on a given night, like those guys might play on Thursday, and we might see more of a reaction from Kerr in regards to rotations. And I think what he tried to do was shorten the rotation much in the way that he did against Phoenix, and even to some extent 2 games before that against the Lakers, because the Warriors are trying to figure out, and Kerr has mentioned this, I think it was after last Monday's loss, who their top 8 is. And for now, it means Anderson and Looney, who are 2 veteran players who have been around the block and aren't going to take it personally, are going to get DMP CDs. Meanwhile, the rest of the players are going to figure it out until Kerr deems otherwise. And I don't know if this is a game he's going to throw out. I think there's some things that they can learn from it. But when you shoot 33%, you're not going to win. When you shoot 24% from three-point range, you are not going to win, especially if the team on the other side so happens to be the best team right now in the NBA. So, again, I think the Warriors just kind of got a taste of their own medicine from a decade ago, and it sucks. But it's a loss that will hopefully kind of inspire them, maybe light a flame under a couple players, and they'll be able to learn from their 2 experiences against the league's best, because they do not look like they're anywhere up to the task, and they got a lot of work ahead of them. But we'll talk about that work ahead of them tomorrow. Again, Morning Roast 6 to 10, Steiny and Guru from 10 to 2, and then Willard and Dibbs from 2 to 6. I appreciate everybody that is tuned in tonight, everyone that's texted in, everyone that's called in, everyone that basically joined for an unfortunate, but I think pretty understandable Warriors loss tonight to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, final score 113-95. Big thank you to Karen Williams, our network coordinator back in our 95.7 The Game studios. Big thank you to, I think, Carter Chickering, who is back there cutting tonight. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long from Chase Center. We'll talk to you on Thursday when the Warriors host the Philadelphia 76ers. In the meantime, make sure to tune in tomorrow from 6 to 6 on your home for Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good night.